Hey guys, it's Casey. Welcome to Reviewsday Tuesday, the day where I review books I've recently read and liked, and hopefully recommend some books for those of you who like to read. Today's pick is If I Stay by Gayle Forman, the New York Times bestseller that is now being adapted into a movie. Yay! I was lent this book by my brother's girlfriend, who, upon hearing that I really liked The Fault in Our Stars, made me go see that movie with her, and then gave me this book because she said, if I like books that'll make me cry, this book will make me cry. You'll notice that I'm fighting off a cold right now, which means I have been home and resting, and I read this book in one sitting. That's right, this book, which is 234 pages long and not an easy read, I read in one sitting because I'm fighting off a cold, and yes. Now, since this book was recommended to me based on the fact that I like The Fault in Our Stars, naturally I'm going to compare them. I found the story in this book less compelling than The Fault in Our Stars, but the writing to be a little bit better. Like, I enjoyed the prose more. Both books made me cry. This one made me cry quite a few more times than The Fault in Our Stars because it's just an emotional roller coaster. But I feel like Gayle Forman actually got into the female main character's head a little bit more than John Green did, even though they're both written in the first person and they both deal with very difficult subject matter. If I Stay by Gayle Forman is about a girl named Mia who is in a car accident. Before the accident, Mia has everything going for her. She has applied to Juilliard because she is a classical cellist. She has a boyfriend who loves her and is in a rock band that is gaining some popularity. She has parents who love her and are super cool, and a sweet younger brother who absolutely idolizes her, and it seems like everything's just perfect, and then bam, car accident. The car accident's described fairly graphically, which I found a bit of a shock to my system, but I understand why it was done that way because Mia herself is observing this accident sort of in an out-of-body experience. Well, that would be shocking to me too. The majority of this novel takes place while Mia is in a coma. That's not a spoiler. It's literally the whole book. The title, If I Stay, comes from the fact that Mia in this coma is contemplating whether or not she wants to stay on Earth and live after this car accident has devastated her life, or move on and die. There's lots of reasons why she might consider dying, including the fact that she has now been orphaned and she's been severely injured, which means that she might not be able to play anymore. She doesn't know yet how severe her injuries are, but she knows she's going to be able to a lot of pain if she wakes up. So basically the whole novel is her contemplating her life of 17 years, going through childhood memories and memories of meeting her boyfriend. And so while this is a love story, a teenage love story, it's much more than that. It's more like a family story because it more focuses on her relationships with her parents and her brother than whether or not she loves her boyfriend, because that's like explicit. She loves her boyfriend. This is how they got together, blah, 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 but it's not focused on that. It's a very good book about priorities and what life actually means, and it's a very emotional ride, and I actually don't remember a lot about the plot because I read it in one sitting, which means I didn't really have a chance to absorb it, which is one of my problems with books that are can't put down. Is that I don't necessarily remember all the details afterwards because I was so busy trying to find out what happened next that I didn't sit down and appreciate what was happening while I was reading it. That's not to say that it wasn't a good book. I very much enjoyed it. I thought the prose was good. It was well written. The characters were compelling. I actually liked her parents more than I liked her, but that's just me. There were certainly things relatable about her, and I can see why it's a bestseller, especially among young girls, although there was some sexual content, so I wouldn't recommend it for anyone under the age of like 14. Apparently there's a sequel. I don't know if I'll read it. It doesn't look as good as this one. I feel like this book had a big draw, and that was the life or death kind of race to the finish. You don't know what she's going to choose kind of tension there, whereas the sequel probably won't have that same kind of urgency, and I feel like that's the thing that really redeemed this from being kind of a slow-paced, memory-based book to something exciting and thrilling and wanting to get to the end. to find out what happened, not so that it would be over. I was actually very disappointed when it ended because I didn't feel like the ending was as strong as the rest of the book. Again, to compare it to The Fault in Our Stars, I felt like The Fault in Our Stars had a much stronger ending, but perhaps the characterization wasn't as good as the characterization in this book. I know much more about the way her brain works than I did about Hazel, but Mia isn't necessarily quite as interesting as Hazel, so I mean there's that. But if you like The Fault in Our Stars, you definitely will like this book. I don't know if you'll like it as much, but it's definitely something that if you want a book to emotionally cleanse you so that you can read it and cry and then move on to something happier, this is a very good sad book to kind of get in that emotional state if that's what you're going for. I'm probably going to go see the movie fairly soon once it's out, so I will review the movie then and see how it stood up to the book. But the book on its own was very good. I enjoyed it. Recommended. If I Stay, Gayle Forman, New York Times bestseller list. Yep. Goodbye.